Hi, welcome back to the shed for what is one of the most exciting days for me, new build day. And this time I'm going to be doing something that I've never done before. So there's going to be some opportunities to learn some new things, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be opportunities for getting a load of stuff wrong as well. But at the end of the day, that's all part of the learning process. Now, back when I was playing guitars on a regular basis, I was very much a rhythm guitarist and very much a Strat guy. I basically went for years using the two same Stratocasters for pretty much every gig I ever played. However, on occasion, it did require something a little bit extra. And that little bit extra was a bit of work on a 12-string. And at the time, I had a Gordon Smith electric 12-string. A little bit like a Les Paul Jr., if I remember rightly. All to be a special. Can't remember if it had one or two pickups, come think of it. However, all that time, what I actually wanted was one of these. And what we have here, if you haven't already guessed, is a Rickenbacker 620 12. So that's the 620 in a 12-string configuration with this headstock, which is already scaring me, but we will get to that bit at an appropriate point in time. And basically, it's another through neck. Quite liking through necks at the moment, so that's not a problem at all. Again, multi-laminate. This is generally 2 bits laminated together for the neck, with the addition of a top and a bottom wing. However, these are usually made of all maple, and I'm not sure that's what I want to do. I've nothing against maple. Beautiful wood, tends to be a little bit on the heavy side, and even though this is quite a small guitar, I just think that all that maple might be a little bit too much. So I'm going to use some slightly different materials, but I'll get into that in a second. I'm going to do the 620 specifically because we've done a lot of thin lines and semi-hollows and stuff like that recently. So I didn't really want to go down that route again. So this is going to be a solid body. Other changes I might make, I don't think I'll go with the stereo output. I would never use it, so I can't really see the point. The Rickenbacker has this weird 2 truss rod style setup. I'm not going to go with that either. I don't really think there's any need. I'll put 1 normal truss rod in, and just because I've never done it on this channel before, I might actually put a couple of carbon fibre rods in the neck just to give it a little bit more stiffness. Hit me up in the comments if you think that's something you'd like to see. But other than that and the materials, it's going to be quite a standard stock build, I think. The only thing I'm not sure about is the bridge. I can get a 12-string Rickenbacker bridge. They are hideously expensive, so I'm not sure what I want to do with that. I've seen some 12-string Tune-o-matic bridges which are even more hideously expensive. They're almost double the price, so I'm not going to go that route. I'm thinking, do I need an individual saddle for all 12 strings, or can I get away with 6 saddles and still maintain some semblance of intonation? Now, my intention for this guitar is to just be a chord strummer type guitar. I'm not going to be doing widdly widdlies up the top end of the neck, so that might not be too much of a problem. If any of you have ever done any 12-string electrics and you used a different bridge, let me know. Let me know what you did. After all, this is as much about me learning stuff as it is you guys. As far as pickups go, I will be using some Rickenbacker style pickups. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go for the toaster pickups or the high gain ones yet. I am kind of hoping to talk to someone about that fairly soon, but that will be quite straightforward. Tailpiece, I'm not going to go with the R tailpiece because I just don't want to make it look like a rip-off. So I'm thinking of this kind of harp tailpiece that's shown in the drawing here. I can probably get one of those, but again, it's not going to be particularly cheap. But I do think that is quite an important integral part of the look of the guitar, so I am willing to go with it. So that brings us on to what are we going to make this guitar out of. And the first element will be maple. So I've got quite a nice big chunk of maple here. It's quite plain. There is a little bit of movement in it, but it's by no means what you'd call a figured flamey maple. I'm going to use maple for the center section, mainly because it's a nice, tough, resilient wood. And I think if we're going to pull off this kind of headstock, we're going to need something strong to do that. I see this whole bit being a kind of a real point of failure. So I really want to make sure that we've got something strong to do that with. So the bulk of the through neck section will be made of 2 bits of maple. However, we're going to dress that up with some purple heart. So we're going to have some very thin sections of purple heart running through that neck, but also we'll have some accents of white and black veneer as well, dressing that up. So there will be quite a lot of work into gluing up this center section, probably thinking about it 10 or 12 laminations in there, plus some ears for the headstock. But I think it's going to look absolutely amazing. And for the wings of the body, I'm going to use mahogany, mainly because I like mahogany, but also because it will be a little bit lighter than the maple, and it might kind of tone down the kind of chiminess of the guitar a little bit. However, what I don't want is this kind of center section being a completely different color from the wings. So I'll get this out of the way and I'll explain what I'm going to do there. Now, I did think about putting a really, really nice drop top onto this. However, as you might be able to see from this side elevation, that is going to be quite awkward to do with the way that this through section is actually constructed. So instead, I'm going to put a book matched piece of quite nice flamey / quilty maple veneer on the top, and then I'm going to look at doing some quite elaborate sort of binding. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do that out of yet, but it's not going to be my normal cream plastic. In terms of finish and colour, not quite sure yet. I actually quite like the flame glow finish that Rickenbacker do. However, we might be able to do better than that, but we've got a long, long way to go before we get to that point and have to worry about it. So that's the plan. That's what I'd like to do. But before we do any of that, we need to do what is always our first step on these things and get ourselves a set of templates made. And to do that, we're going to take our trusty roll of tracing paper and then literally just a bunch of French curves and various kind of templates and circle guides and stuff. Nice sharp pencil, and just start kind of drawing this round. Whenever I do this job, I always have this kind of vision in my mind of the old timers back in the day, creating the drawings that these guitars were based on and roughing them out by eye, and then going back in and refining the shape with these French curves. Because time and time again, as you go around here, you will find bits that just absolutely fit perfectly onto the French curve. You can almost kind of feel yourself as part of the kind of history of this thing almost, as you kind of recreate it, 60, 70 years later. I find it very cathartic and soothing. Just slowly take your time and find exactly the right bit to get the curve that you want. Sometimes, as it turns out, it isn't the right bit at all. And you have to just go back over it. Okay, so there's the first one all cut out. Really pleased with that. I think it's come out great. So I just need to do the same with the rest of these now. Hopefully won't take too much longer, but I'm going to do that off camera. I think we've covered quite enough ground for this one. I'm going to be back in a couple of days' time when hopefully my neighbour's turned his horrible music down and we can make a start on that neck blank. Like I said, it's going to be a multi-laminate neck, so there's going to be a little bit of work getting that sorted out, but I'm sure it's all going to look absolutely brilliant. So until that point, as always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, buy the mug or the t-shirt, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a few days' time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.